Hi everybody, Catherine Tapley, Head of Sustainable Finance here, and I'm joined today with John Connor, who's the CEO of the Australian Carbon Market Institute, and we're here to talk all about what COP is and what's going to happen. John, thanks very much for coming in today. So let's start with the basics. From the Carbon Market Institute perspective, what do you want to see and how important is it for your delegation to be there and participating in it?
Yeah. Well, this COP in particular is a very important one in the Paris Agreement architecture. And so what's important about the Paris Agreement is that it's got a ratchet mechanism of increasing political moments, political focus and increasing ambition. And it's a 5-yearly cycle. And so every 5 years you have what you call a global stocktake. And then 2 years after that, countries have to put in their next targets. And so in a couple of years' time, Australia and other countries will have to put in their 2035 targets. And we think at CMI that should be 70% plus emissions reductions. But this year, they've been working on a global stocktake of how countries are progressing so far on their 2030 targets. And basically, not enough. Everyone's got to do more. And so how that global stocktake drives decisions at this COP and how much that drives further ambition afterwards is going to be the top level issue. There are important decisions under what they call Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, which actually governs global cooperation. And that in particular means carbon markets, which we obviously are very focused on because they are one of the key tools of driving investment into climate solutions and also making countries work together in the most economically efficient way. And if you can do that, you can drive more resources into even more ambition is the theory behind that. So there are key decisions got made in Glasgow a couple of years ago about that framework, but we've still got elements to work out about how we report. Can governments change the rules on how they've authorised carbon projects to make sure that we actually have good markets and investment frameworks for companies who are engaging around this around the world, and so that's fully operational in the next year or so.
And in terms of the finance sector participation in the Conference of the Parties in years gone by now, it's been pretty significant. Big acknowledgement now that very large amounts of capital need to be mobilised. So as a finance sector participant, what should I be looking for?
It really is important to understand that the Paris Agreement set in place, it's not a compliance. They didn't set a rule for exact countries' targets and they must do this and they get penalised. It's actually about how does it encourage action through transparency and like this global stocktake, but how can we actually highlight the work that's being done in each of the countries and how they're working collaboratively. One of the tests is how much finance and investment is actually happening, not just through public sort of taxpayer grant schemes, but how it's getting mobilised through investment vehicles. And ANZ have been through investments like Pollination and others is actually helping that getting and invested on ground not just in Australia but around the world. That's got to add up to 100 billion plus a year, and they're actually working on a target for that sort of broader picture of the scale of investment needed. So how that's got to add up is one of the focuses. The other thing, we are seeing this in the backdrop, a big focus around what's a fair income transition plan and decarbonisation plans. We're all under various pressure and focus from the community, from stakeholders and others. There'll be a backdrop of that, and so important to be engaging in those discussions, but also just to understand the breadth of investments and opportunities that are there. We've actually got substantial experience now. We've got policies now starting to have impact, and so we want to bring that experience to the world and work out how we can learn from the world as well.